Hey, I hope this video finds everybody doing well. I know we're all a little anxious. I know we're trying to follow this and kind of see how long is it going to be before we're back together. And I hope that these have kind of helped a little bit as far as connection to the church and give us some things to think about during our time apart. I got to tell you, I was going to do this earlier in the week, and I had a little trouble with this passage. Not really so much trouble understanding it, but really more trouble with just actually what it says. And you'll see that in just a minute. We've got a passage or two I want us to look at just really quickly today from the Sermon on the Mount. And here's why I think you're going to see that this gave me trouble. It's Matthew chapter 6 and verse 1 in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus says, "Be careful not to do your acts of righteousness before men to be seen by them, or if you do, you'll have no reward from your Father who's in heaven." And I thought, isn't that a strange passage to talk about from a guy who's recording himself on a video and sending it out to you for you to watch? To do your acts of righteousness before others. It is one of those passages that reminds us about why it is that we're here and what it is that we do. But it also can be one that can be a little bit confusing, but not really, when we really pay attention to what Jesus has to say earlier. Right? There's a section in the Sermon on the Mount in chapter 5 where Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's in good for nothing except to be thrown out and trampled by men. You are the light of the world, the city on a hill that cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and place it under a bowl, but instead they put it on its stand so that it gives light to all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father who's in heaven. Now, maybe at first glance, if we're just kind of reading through this quickly, we go, wait a minute, hold on. Jesus just said, do your good works so that people see them and glorify your Father who's in heaven. And then we have Jesus going, don't do your acts of righteousness before others to be seen by them. And I think most of us have figured out, what the answer to that little problem there is. It's about who gets the glory, who gets the credit. What is it that we do what we do? Is it so that others will see us and go, boy, there's somebody that's got it together. Oh, there's somebody that's a religious person. Or is it that they say, wait a minute, what's going on behind the scenes? Why is it that you're there? Why is it that you do these things? Is this just for you, or is this really to honor something else? Is this to bring out something else for people to see? The answer to that's obvious, is that what we do is meant to bring glory to the God who saved us. There's a good friend of mine that is in Kansas City. He's a doctor. His name's Brandon Day. And about every year they go on a medical mission down to El Salvador, where we usually go, once a year to work with a school. But they do a medical mission there usually in March. And he talked just this past summer. We were talking at a gathering for the folks who work down there. And he was talking about the number of patients that they see and the way they set up and where they go to the different villages and all these people who come and how it's all set up. And there's, he's one of the doctors. There are other doctors there. There are nurses who are there. There are other people who volunteer to come in and translate for them. There are other, some of the local preachers are there to visit and to comfort and to pray with people. And it's a real good outreach event. And he said he's had the question asked by people who have come there, going, come and see the doctor, and they go, why are you here? What are you getting out of this? Right? It's kind of like, what's in it for you? And his answer was so simple, and it was really kind of one of those things going, man, I wish I'd thought of that first, right? That someone came and asked him and said, why is it that you're here? Why do you take this time away from your home, come from the United States, to come down here to treat people and really receive nothing for that? And his answer was, this is where Jesus told us to be. This is where Jesus wants us. And I thought it was just such a great example of somebody looking in the face of someone else and saying, this isn't about what I do. This isn't about what I give up. This isn't about how I serve. This isn't about how I do these acts of righteousness. And Jesus is going to talk about those in chapter 6. Giving to the poor, praying, fasting, those kinds of things. It's not about that. It's about pointing back to the God who saved me. It's about pointing back to say, wait a minute, this is where God's brought me. And what he expects from us is to show that same love and concern to others. I am so encouraged every day here at this place. Even though we don't meet here together and see one another all the time, the amount of phone calls and texts and emails that are moving back and forth with the basic concern of, is there somebody out there that needs help? Is there some way that we can help? And the other beautiful thing about this is so many times we have people go, are there people that really need help? Because what I'd like to do is help them, but I don't really want them to know that that's where it's coming from. It's a secret thing. I don't want them looking at me. I want this to be a reflection of the love of God. This opportunity has that's been presented through this virus has really given us the opportunity to be the church, and we see that in so many ways. So many people who are calling and saying, "How can we help? How can we send things? What can we do with this?" Jennifer Stevens, who's doing, I'd love to oversee and organize the food pantry. And just the work that's gone into that so that we can help our neighbors. And that's the answer that I hope that we give them when they say, why is it that you're doing this? Is you're going, well, because this is where God wants us. I hope and I pray that we never lose sight of that we never lose sight of the fact that it's God who has done this for us, and this is why we do what we do. This is why we're careful not to do our acts of righteousness just so others see us. But the things that we do should all be a reflection of and a pointing to the God who saved us from the people we used to be to the people that we can be in him. Thanks again for spending this little bit of time. Look forward to seeing each one of you again face to face. Love you all. God bless.